Lazzarini said the UN Agency for Palestine Refugees may soon be unable to provide vital aid due to funding cuts.
UNRWA is facing a deliberate and concerted campaign to undermine its operations and ultimately end them. Part of this campaign involves inundating donors with misinformation designed to foster distrust and tarnish the reputation of the agency. More blatant is the Israeli Prime Minister openly stating that UNRWA will not be part of post-war Gaza.
Israel has alleged UNRWA staff were complicit in Hamas's October attacks, which caused donors to cut funding. Israel has not provided evidence for these claims. On Monday, an Israeli Defense Force spokesperson alleged that over 450 employees of UNRWA are operatives in terrorist groups in Gaza. Thousands of Palestinians are fleeing starvation in northern Gaza and heading south in search of food. A worsening security situation recently forced the World Food Programme to halt aid deliveries, leaving 500,000 people facing famine. But the south is also struggling with food and aid supplies. Health officials in the southern city of Rafah say there is a growing number of underweight children being treated at hospitals. Germany's foreign minister has called on the government to intensively consider potential deliveries of Taurus cruise missiles to Ukraine. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz earlier rejected the delivery of such long-range weapons to Kyiv. Scholz says his government should have control over the weapon, which could hit targets deep within Russia. Meanwhile, a Russian attack in the Ukrainian Kherson region left one person dead and damaged residential buildings. Russia targeted 16 areas in Kherson, hitting 9 multi-story buildings, 16 private houses, and educational institutions. In total, 3 territorial communities came under fire. In Odessa, tributes are being paid to the 12 people killed in a Russian shelling last weekend. 5 of them were children from the ages of 4 months to 9 years. A spontaneous memorial with flowers has been set up near a house hit by a Russian drone.
France will officially change its constitution to make abortion a guaranteed right after lawmakers gathered in Versailles on Monday. A joint session of both houses of parliament needed a 3/5 majority after gaining approval of the Senate. The vote will give women a guaranteed right to abortion, enshrined in the company's constitution.
Nous sommes encore loin d'être au bout du chemin, mais pas à pas, l'égalité se rapproche. En garantissant la liberté de recourir à l'interruption volontaire de grossesse dans notre Constitution, nous donnons une deuxième victoire à Simone Veil et à toutes celles qui ont ouvert la voie. Nous adressons surtout un message à toutes les femmes. Votre corps vous appartient et personne n'a le droit d'en disposer à votre place.
The measure had been backed by French President Emmanuel Macron, who vowed to enshrine abortion in the Constitution after the US Supreme Court overturned the right for the procedure in 2022 in the United States. France is the first country in the world to write abortion as a right into its constitution.
An avalanche hit a regional road in the Lys Valley in northern Italy between Sunday and Monday, stopping 6,000 people from leaving their homes. It was caused by heavy snow which began on Sunday evening. Entrances to the 2 small towns of Gressonnois-Saint-Jean and Gressonnois-La Trinité have been cut off. The road was temporarily opened again for a period on Monday to allow people to enter and leave.
Italian workers' safety has been at the center of the government's debate after the recent death of 5 workers at a construction site in Florence. In 2021, Italy registered the second highest number of workplace victims in the EU after France. And with the count on the rise this year compared to the same period in 2023, Rome is unveiling a new plan to improve working conditions. The initiative, which falls under the EU-backed National Recovery and Resilience Plan, includes the introduction of an additional number of inspectors inspectors and a new points-based license, forcing contractors to comply with safety standards to get permission to work. But both the country's Builders Association and Italy's main unions have criticized the move.
Noi ci siamo dichiarati non favorevoli alla patente a punti, ma non perché non vogliamo una stretta sui controlli e sulla qualificazione, perché in realtà la patente a punti, per chi vuole anche fare il furbo, mi permetto di dire, significa che un'impresa del mercato privato apre il 1° gennaio, chiude il 31 dicembre, poi riapre con una nuova impresa il 1° gennaio, quindi magari ha anche consumato i punti, ma gli ritornano. Ovviamente non abbiamo ancora letto che cosa prevede questa patente a punti, però non ci sembra questo il meccanismo giusto.
Trade unions see subcontracting as the main cause behind these accidents.
Una norma chiara sulla qualificazione delle imprese, che tenga conto della storia delle imprese, che tenga conto del comportamento nei cantieri di quelle imprese. L'impresa che gestiva il cantiere di Firenze aveva avuto già delle irregolarità accertate, sempre in materia di salute e sicurezza, su altri cantieri italiani.
Changing the system, trade unions say, would also help attract international investments. It will take several weeks to convert the decree into law, and both trade unions and business organizations hope that the plan can still be improved. Giorgia Orlandi for Euronews in Rome.
Ukraine denies claims by Polish and other EU farmers that farm exports are damaging their income. Polish farmers are sabotaging Ukrainian grain while blocking border points between both countries. The Ukrainian trade representative is in Brussels to try to resolve the issue.
Poland and Ukraine are very particular neighbors in terms of agriculture, because in comparison with other neighbors, we have intensive agricultural trade in both directions. Sometimes the products that are subjects of complaints of EU farmers are the products that are as well exported to Ukraine even in bigger amount, like for poultry, for example, because we export to Poland only 4,000 tons, and we purchase from Poland 40,000 tons of poultry. So we are net importer of poultry from Poland. But this paradox is in the statistics, but not in the minds of farmers who believe that Ukraine is a source of problems for Polish agriculture.
So is it fair to say that a lot of the protests or the protestations from farmers in Poland and Slovakia and so on, I mean, it doesn't stand up to scrutiny, essentially, that the problem isn't as bad as they're making it out to be and can easily actually be reconciled?
If this problem is tackled in classical EU way, with analysis, figures, boring decisions, committees, etc., it can be tackled easily. But now we have like a new political era in the EU with a lot of protests, with a lot of emotions, and this is something new that we need to learn how to tackle, both within the EU and for Ukraine, because it will impact our accession process.
And on that, are you confident that the EU has your back here, that it will defend the reality rather than the emotions?
I really believe in EU institutions' experience on how to manage very contradicting interests. And this is exactly the topic of Green Deal, because Green Deal is let's say, is number one in ranking of protest of farmers across Europe. Ukraine is a solution for the problem of Green Deal and farmers, because Ukrainian farmers use less fertilizers, less pesticides. We have more land that can be free, as it was proposed within Green Deal. So this 4% of land that should be, let's say, less used for agricultural purposes. So if you include Ukraine into this equation, you can be surprised that the goals of climate policy as proposed by the EU and the interests of farmers can be, let's say, equalized and can be balanced.
Okay, Minister, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Brussels has ordered Apple to pay a fine of €1.8 billion for breaking EU competition law in its distribution of music streaming apps. The European Commission found Apple had blocked users of its App Store from switching to cheaper music subscription alternatives. It follows a 4-year probe launched after Swedish company Spotify filed a complaint in 2019.
This is illegal, and it has impacted millions of European consumers. They were not able to make a free choice as to where, how, and at what prices to buy music streaming subscriptions.
It is the first time that the Commission has fined Apple and the third biggest antitrust levy it has ever issued. The move is part of Brussels' plan to rein in the power of big tech companies that abuse their market dominance under the Digital Markets Act. The Commission says holding big tech to account will help small European businesses thrive.
It is of fundamental importance to hold companies like Apple accountable for their violation of EU law. Today's decision shows that competition law continues to provide a very powerful basis to tackle illegal behaviour by companies like Apple to the benefit of consumers. And it will work hand in hand with the DMA to ensure that digital markets work, that they indeed deliver for people.
Similar levies against Google are currently being appealed in courts. Apple has said it will also challenge the decision and claims Spotify's success story as the largest music streaming app in the world is partly due to the support it has received from Apple and its App Store.
Euronews. The news.